Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be continuing our discussion of what we talked about last week. Last week, we really covered how to connect with our kids, right? And in this week, I wanted to take the time to talk about how we can connect to ourselves. Because really, how can we connect to anyone else in our life when we don't feel connected to ourselves? If you haven't checked out last week's video, I'm going to be linking that down below. I really urge you to watch that before you continue with this video. Make sure you stick around till the end of the video because although I'm going to be talking about some practices, there are so many things that I've tried over and over again in my journey, and I want you guys to have the tools that you need to move forward. So make sure you stick around because I'll be providing that at the end. I also just wanted to quickly announce that spots for my one-to-one are opening up. So if you are a mother going through grief and loss, or if you've experienced any kind of loss in your life and you're kind of feeling overwhelmed or you're feeling you're lacking confidence, and you want to regain that confidence and feel connected again in your relationships with your kids, I urge you to sign up for the free consult because you'll get some value out of it. So if you want to find a little bit more clarity about your situation and really overall where you're struggling, I urge you to sign up for that, and I'll leave the link down below. But with all that being said, let's get into the video because that's why you guys are here today. So I think in order to connect with other people in our lives and feel connected in our relationships, we need to be connected with ourselves. We need to feel confident and not feel so overwhelmed and feel like we're being spread too thin. And for me, the biggest turning point in my journey, I guess you can say, was finding that clarity and feeling really confident and connected with myself so that I could be there for the people that needed me most. So I'm going to be sharing with you a few things that not only help me feel connected again to myself, but really help me find a balance in my life. So the first two things kind of go hand in hand, and they're principles of social and emotional learning, which I've talked about pretty frequently on the channel. So the first is noticing your feelings. And I know that sounds kind of stupid, but it really helps. Noticing when you're feeling frustrated, noticing when you're feeling overwhelmed, and noticing your triggers. Identifying my own triggers and moments of stress and anxiety really helped me become clear on what I needed to focus on and what I needed to get rid of, essentially. And the way I did that was through writing. And I'm going to talk about journaling throughout this video because I think that's what helped me the most. It kind of allowed me to get a step back and kind of look at my own situation from a different perspective. What I usually do is, I spend a night and I'll just take a brain dump of everything that, overwhelmed me throughout the day or frustrated me, or really just how my day went in general. And either the next morning or the next night, I'll go and look at those notes and I'll realize, what was I thinking? What was going through my head? And it really helped me gain a perspective on trying to understand myself and what was really making me anxious. So the second part of that is accepting those thoughts. It's one thing to notice something, but it's another thing to accept it. Accepting is really about not judging ourselves and over-criticizing ourselves and accepting the feelings that we have and the experiences that we have for what they are. And I just want to point out that through this acceptance, you just have to notice and understand. You don't have to fix anything. There's nothing to be fixed in some cases. You just have to accept where you are and be comfortable having this feeling inside, because the only way you're going to be able to cope or handle an emotion like stress or anxiety is accepting it. Right? We can't move forward unless we accept that it's here. So the third thing I want to talk about is connecting through solitude. And I myself am an introvert, so connecting by myself, being completely alone, is totally fine with me. I love being alone. There are some times when, I need social interaction, but I don't mind being alone at all. And I know for extroverts, that is very hard to do. I know a lot of extroverts, and sometimes they just can't stand being alone. And I'm like, I don't get it. What goes through your mind when you crave that social interaction? And so I try to understand it from the other point of view because, everyone thinks differently. It's not like I can view the world is solely through my way of thinking. So I always try to take, that perspective and consideration. But being alone is so important, and connecting to ourselves through solitude is one of the only ways that we can connect. And part of that is practicing self-care, doing things that you love, spending at least 5 to 10 minutes a day by ourselves, just so that we can think and not have any distractions going on around us. Connecting through solitude also involves spending time doing things that either calm you or re-energize you. And that's just based on what you need at the time. Sometimes you need things that are going to make you calm, and some things you need that are going to re-energize you and motivate you. So it's, again, that's still like listening to your body and noticing and accepting what you need in that moment. So just to give you an idea of what I like to do, maybe you can try it. Things that calm me are meditating, listening to music, listening to a podcast, reading, things like that. And things that re-energize me are working out, going for walks, in some cases listening to a podcast if it's motivational. So those are just a few things that I like to do and I know that work for me. So a big part of that process and when working through and connecting through solitude is finding what works for you. You have to find what works for you and listen to your body. So this next one is by far my favorite, and that's self-compassion. And I used to have a way different definition of self-compassion than I do now. When I used to think of self-compassion, I used to think of being kind to yourself, but self-compassion is really so much more. And I learned about self-compassion through Kristin Neff. She's a psychologist who actually studies self-compassion for a living. And I love learning about psychologists that focus on one thing and just research the heck out of it. Another one who I follow is Angela Duckworth, who I've talked about in the past, and she studies grit. That's it. But she studies grit, and they just become so engrossed by the topic. So I love learning about self-compassion from Kristin Neff. I urge you to check her out. So the way she describes it is when you're being kind to a friend, that's basically how you should be kind to yourself. So being self-compassionate is being kind to yourself in moments of failure or in moments when you make a mistake or you're feeling inadequate. Anytime that you are suffering, you should be kind to yourself. And that goes hand in hand with noticing and accepting those feelings, because sometimes you need to be there for yourself when you're going through these moments when you're just feeling like you're either spread too thin or you're just not enough. And you are enough. We're all enough. We need to be kind to ourselves. We need to be more kind to ourselves and more understanding when we're going through these hard times. And the ways that I like to practice my self-compassion is through writing and through self-talk. And I know I talked about writing, but I just wanted to bring up the fact that yes, writing is used as a tool for when we need to notice those moments of stress and anxiety and overwhelm. And that's great to reflect on that. But it's also a great way to express gratitude for yourself and for, the positive things that are going on in your life, and just a way to be kind to yourself and talk about all the things that you love about yourself. That's what I do with my writing sometimes when I just need a pick-me-up. I just talk about anything and everything. So the other thing I like to do is positive self-talk. And my family and friends can definitely attest to this. I probably talk to myself like 50% of the day. And I think it's a great way to practice self-compassion. And sometimes I just use it to go through a situation, whether that's giving myself, positive reinforcement, you got this, you can do this, or if it's just talking about my situation out loud so that I can take a step back and really think about what I'm saying out loud. Especially coming from an introvert, I tend to be shy around people, and I know this may come as a surprise because I kind of put myself out there, definitely on the internet. I mean, I have a YouTube channel, but I use it as a way to make sense of my thoughts, because sometimes when I have a thought, it's in my head and I try to speak it out loud, all the words get jumbled up and I just get really frustrated and overwhelmed. But when I talk myself through it, it helps me become a better speaker. It helps me become better connecting with myself, and it helps me become better connected with other people around me. So I definitely urge you to try that one out, even though it might make you sound crazy at first. Trust me, it'll be worth it. But the last one I wanted to talk about was mindfulness. And I have talked about mindfulness on this channel before, mindfulness for parents and for kids and all of that. But mindfulness is also a tool that we can use to connect with ourselves. The biggest things for me that I took out of mindfulness was really becoming present in the moment. I used to be the kind of person that would be constantly thinking of what's to come and making lists of things that I had to do and get done and worrying about things if they weren't getting done. And I really needed to take a step back, and coming from that outside perspective, I needed to really start focusing on the present moment, being present with myself, being present with the people around me, and feeling really connected in that moment. And it really helped me kind of get a better understanding of myself and my relationships as well. So aside from being present, I also try to meditate as often as I can. I don't do it every day. I have definitely been slacking lately, I'm going to be honest. But I do think meditation really helps slow things down in there, and it really helps me feel relaxed. After I'm done meditating, I just feel like rejuvenated. So if you're not one to practice meditation, or if you think that it would be really hard for you because you just can't sit still, I urge you to try it. So many apps that you can use that have guided meditations to help walk you through the process, and you really don't need to go that long on your first go at it. You know, even just 2 minutes or 5 minutes. You don't need to sit down for 30 minutes and expect to be enlightened. Like, that's not going to happen. It definitely didn't happen for me. And you might hate it at first, or you may love it. It just really depends. But research has shown that its effects on, reducing stress and anxiety are really great. So if you want to check that out, I really urge you to do so, because it really helped me. So I hope you guys got a little bit of a better understanding of ways that you can connect with yourselves and topics that you should focus on. Like I mentioned, I'm going to be giving away a free checklist of ideas that you can use in each category, ways that help me connect to myself and feel connected in my relationships. So if you want to check that out, I'll leave the link down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you got some use out of this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.